Welcome everyone. I'm Gustavo. This is Football with Gustavo. It has been a really interesting Africa Cup of Nations. I think the group stages have delivered. Did they deliver according to our expectations? You'd let me know if they did deliver according to your expectations. But according to my expectations and what I need in the tournament, I haven't seen such happening in recent tournaments. Whereby the stronger teams they are all performing at the highest level, whereby all the stronger teams they are making it out to the knockout rounds. We saw upsets in the last AFCON whereby teams like Tunisia they were knocked out in the group stages. Where Ivory Coast had to struggle to get out of the group stages. They had to struggle to make it into the knockout rounds, qualifying through that place, but eventually winning the tournament. But there's no such in the current tournament. There's no bigger team that is or stronger team that has been left behind. They are all going to the knockout stages. You have to look back at round one. Round one clearly gives you the picture. It clearly gives you the picture whereby you had 12 games being played, only one game had an outcome of a draw. It was the Mali and the Zambia game. I think it was a 1-1 draw, right? You're looking at all the rest of the 11 games. You are seeing wins for the stronger oppositions. No upset whatsoever. There's no inferior team that came and made an upset. That should tell you going into this tournament what we were about to get, basically. And it's really, really good. It's really, really healthy for me, going to knockout rounds with just a lot of strong teams. It means a lot of competitive football. It means teams have to grind. Teams have to earn their spots. Teams have to qualify in one of the most difficult ways to qualify. Going to the next rounds, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the final stages. Going to round two of the competition. That's where you actually saw a lot of the stronger teams playing each other. But as much as they played each other, as much as some teams won, Nigeria, Algeria, Egypt, they won their games, but it was not easy. Nigeria winning 3-2 against Tunisia, it was not easy. It was a highly, highly competitive game. Looking at Egypt winning against South Africa by 1-0. Egypt went through a penalty, but they had to defend because they went 10 men down within that game. Algeria against Burkina Faso also 1-0. That game was very, very difficult. Then the rest of the fixtures, you had Ivory Coast drawing against the Cameroon. You had other team, Congo drawing against Senegal. You had Morocco drawing against the Mali. It shows you the competitiveness of the teams that we have currently in the AFCON. The coaching that has been done, the preparations, I think majority of the teams are prepared going into this competition. The fact that there was hardly any upsets. As much as maybe some teams had not performed to the highest of which they can in this tournament, but the fact that we had no upsets, it's really a good thing for our football. You see Morocco qualifying top of their group. You see Algeria, you see Nigeria qualifying. Straight qualification. No team is struggling. Going into the knockout rounds, it's gonna be very difficult. I won't lie, it's gonna be very, very difficult. If you are to look at South Africa's journey, the outcome has not yet been decided, but whichever team finishes second, they will play South Africa in the round of 16 from the Ivory Coast and the Cameroon group. So those are most likely South Africa's opponents, Cameroon or Ivory Coast. If South Africa are able to get past that, they might face Morocco in the quarterfinal stages. That shows you that it won't be easy going into this journey. Whoever will make it to the final would have earned the spot to go to the final. I don't think as much as luck will come into play, but it won't be easy for that luck to come for some of the teams. For me, if I am to pick maybe my top five strongest teams so far, I'll put Nigeria at the top. For me, they are the favorites to win this competition, virtue of how they performed in the group stages. Followed by maybe a Morocco, you have a Senegal, you have a Algeria, you have a Ivory Coast also. For me, those are my top five strongest teams so far from the group stages. I think some of the most solid teams that you've seen in the AFCON. One would add in Egypt there, but for me, they haven't really performed to the highest of levels from what I've seen from the other different teams. We see Riyad Mahrez performing for Algeria. We see Ibrahim Diaz performing for Morocco. And we see Amad Diallo performing for an Ivory Coast. Those are some of the stars that they have in the team. You see a Lukman, you see Osimhen, you see a Chukwueze. performing for Nigeria. That's incredible to see. You know, by your stars, they rise to the occasion. They give you what you need. They give you those performances that you need. That's what we've seen in this competition from the teams. You know, which is really, really incredible. Some of the teams, they are strong in attack. They have the depths, like a team like Egypt. They have depth in attack. You can point out of Mo Salah, Mamouche, Mustafa Mohamed, Ibrahim Adel, Imam Ashur. You can name. They have so many stars in their team, especially higher up the pitch, which is really incredible to see, which is what you need. You know, impressively enough, some of those stars are playing in their local league, in the Egyptian league, which is really incredible. You know, you have a South African team also who's full of players playing in their local league, you know, in the African continent, you know, which is really incredible. And it's good to see that you're not only dependent on European stars or players who play in Europe to give you something. The fact that you can do it to your local stars is really incredible. I'd like to see a lot of leagues in the African continent rising, you know, a lot of leagues improving so that we can have a lot of local stars going into these competitions and performing, you know. For me, if also I was to point out maybe my biggest surprise in this competition is actually Nigeria. It's actually Nigeria. We saw them in the qualifiers. They did not qualify for the FIFA World Cup 2026, you know. And how they performed in the group stages was a bit shaky. But coming into this tournament, I think they've made a statement. The last game they won 3-1 against the Uganda. They've won all their matches with 9 points. You know, they went to the final, the last AFCON. You know, so it's one of my biggest surprises from the Nigerian side. Also, I can also pinpoint and say Mali also qualifying, you know, without having won a game, drawing all their games. You know, Tanzania also, as it stands, Tanzania have qualified with only 2 points, which is really, really incredible. One of the biggest shockers, one of the most interesting things, you know, that you'll find with African football or at the AFCON with teams qualifying into third place, which is really, really incredible. But overall, everyone has performed. The teams that we expected to reach the knockout stages, you know, I think they are in the knockout stages. From the COSAFA region, I think you have a Tanzania. They're part of the COSAFA, I'm not sure. Yes, then to be corrected there. But South Africa has been at the forefront of the COSAFA teams performing, you know, winning their games, going out of the group stages into the knockout rounds, you know. But so far, no complications for a lot of teams. No complications. Having heard that there's a coach that's been changed, as we saw in the last tournament, a lot of teams changed coaches within the tournament. We'll see in the knockout rounds though what happens. If there are teams that will do that, you know, change the coaching staff. My best player, really hard to pick. Really, really hard to pick. But I'll pick. I think Ibrahim Diaz is giving Morocco what the team needs exactly. I think Ibrahim Diaz, for me, one of the best players. I think South Africa's best player so far has been Ronwen Williams throughout all the games. You know, it's really good to see him rise into the equation. It's really good to see him captaining the team properly, you know, and the performances are backing that up. But high up the pitch also you have Lyle Foster with one of the most goal contributions so far in the knockout stages. I think Ademola Lookman is the only player as it stands that has more similar goal contributions with 4 goal contributions. We're looking at 2 goals, 2 assists for Lyle Foster and the Lookman, which is really incredible. The player is giving us the output that we need from him as a forward player, as a striker also. He's scoring the goals that South Africa need, which is really, really incredible. The pitches have looked good, the stadiums have looked good, as much as some are not in love with the environment. Some say that this AFCON lacks the soul of an Africa Cup of Nations. But overall, almost everything looks good. The refereeing has not been that poor. I think it has been good. VAR, I think it also has been good. I think some of the decisions that have been made, you know, maybe from a supporter standpoint, you'd feel hard done by some of these decisions, but they've looked spot on, they've looked good, which is what we need actually in this competition. Just to look at the knockout round pre-stages, like I said, it will be tough. If I am to maybe pick teams that will eventually play the final, I think Nigeria will find themselves in the final. maybe Morocco also. We find ourselves in the final. I think for me that would be my final for the Africa Cup of Nations. Dark horse to reach the final, I can say South Africa, because they did not perform towards. We expected them to perform on the level, but they've managed to. They did the same way that they did in the group stages in the last tournament. Just that the results are different in terms of how they are coming per round. But that's my dark horse for me to go to the final. South Africa. My favorite is Nigeria, obviously. A team that's most likely to disappoint, I think it's a Morocco. It's a Morocco. It's a Morocco Egypt. Between the two teams, they are most likely to disappoint also. I have to point that out because the expectations are too high for some of those teams. So let's see. But you can quickly point out also who impressed you in this tournament, who impressed you in this AFCON. Who do you feel was robbed, or South Africa robbed against the game in the game against the Egypt? And for you, who's winning this AFCON? Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Share the video. It has been an incredible journey. It has been an incredible 2025. Going to 2026 season. I wish everyone a great year. I wish the football nations. I wish football as a whole. A great year. Hopefully, we continue to improve as Africans. Hopefully, we continue to improve as African football. Credits to Dr. Patrice Motsepe. I think it's taking us in that direction. We are able to watch our local tournaments. We're able to watch the CAF Champions League. It's being watched all over Africa. The accessibility to the tournaments. It's good to see watching the AFCON, and you see some of the players maybe we might not have known in the previous tournaments, that are playing in the African continent, that you can actually point out and name some of those players. It's good that we have the AFCON being covered in a lot of places. It's accessible to the people, and hopefully, as it continues to be accessible to the world, but it's been incredible work from Dr. Patrice Motsepe. Credit to him and his team and SCAF as a whole. I think we're heading into the right direction. But please share, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.